Hello all, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to discuss what is global handler. Okay, so how we are going to use this global handler and what exactly the use case for this. Okay, so we'll discuss step by step. So in an interview question, if the interviewer asked what is a global exception handler, so first we need to understand how we can answer, right? So it's like a type of workflow, just like we have seen in new, right? So in a design ribbon, you can see there are several types of workflows like sequence, flowchart, state machine, right? Same like the workflows, we have a global handler as well. Okay, so why the global handler used? Let's say if you don't have any try catch mechanism in your workflow, right? So directly the exception will be caught by the global handler. Okay, so we'll see how we are going to use this global handler with an example. Okay, so first of all, let's understand how we can answer this. So to answer the global, what is a global exception handler? It is a type of workflow. So let me increase. So it is a type of workflow designed to determine the project's behavior when encountering an execution error. Okay, so if there is any execution error while your project is in while project when you run the project, so if it is caught in any exception, so the global exception handler will be very useful. Okay, so global exception handler workflow type can be used only one global exception handler can be set for an automation project. So what it means, so if you go to your project panel, so you can see there is a one global exception handler. Okay, so you can make a main also one global exception handler. Okay, this one you cannot do. So but let's say if you have any other XML file, okay, let me create one more sequence. Okay, like demo, I create. So if I go to project, so you can see here demo, you can right click on it and you can see set as global handler. Okay, so you can set this workflow as a global handler. So in order to comply with the global handler format, the arguments of the demo XML workflow have to be updated. Would you like to continue? So what it means, we'll discuss in a minute. So right now, just say no, I don't want to make it as a demo as a global handler. So I have already used this. We can use this global handler. So what I came to know today is you cannot make main XAML as a global handler. Okay, so you can see this is a disabled. So yeah, you cannot do this as a main XAML. You cannot do as a set as a global handler. Okay, so now what happens a global handler? So what actually it is saying that if you just go to main, what are the other things? So it has a two arguments. So every global handler, if you just create a global handler, it will have a two arguments. So that is nothing but error info and result. So error info is nothing but your exception data. Okay, what about the information regarding the exception and also which workflow has been caught an error, right? So all this data will be saved in an error info, which is a type of in argument. Okay, so this is an in argument. And what is the result? So there is another argument that is mandatory, you cannot remove, is a result. This is nothing but an out argument. Okay, we'll see it in a minute. So which is used for determining the next behavior of the process. So what it means, next behavior of the process means, do you want to continue with that error, or you want to ignore, or you want to retry, or you want to abort the execution. Okay, so these are all the uh, behaviors that we are going to perform if an error if an error occurred. Okay, so this is the result out argument. So this we can correlate with our debugging options. Okay, so we have a debugging actions we have. right? So what are the debugging actions? Like debug file. Here once you click on debug, you can see the continue, or you can see there is a retry and there is a ignore and restart. So what it will retry, let's say one activity is throwing an error, so if you want to retry the same activity again, you need to click on retry. Okay, so here if you see the retry, you can compare the activity which threw the exception is retried. Okay, so it is same. And ignore, if you want to ignore, the exception is going to be ignored and it will continue to the next activity, the same way for the debugging actions. Okay, so yeah, so the next thing is restart. So we don't have a restart in the global exception handler, so we have only continue and ignore, retry and abort. So the abort is nothing but the execution stops after running the current global exception handler. Okay, so here these are the ways that we can control our workflow when there is an error. Okay, so to control the workflow's behavior in case of an error, the global exception handler retries the activity 3 times and then abort. So where it is hard coded, we can see it. So hope you guys understood. So what I can simply answer, let's say if the interviewer asked what is a global exception handler, it is a type of workflow designed to determine the project's behavior when encountering an execution error. Okay, so this global handler have two arguments that should not be removed, like error info and result. So error info is nothing but, you can say, in argument which will store the error information and also where the execution which example has been caught this error. Okay, we will get the details in an error info argument. And the result, so the result is nothing but an argument which is determining the next behavior of the process. So does it want to continue, ignore, retry or abort? Okay, so we'll see how we are going to set this in our demo. Okay, so far so good. So let's continue how we can do that. So we'll take, let's say I already created, let me decrease the zoom size, let's say 100. So I have used, let me delete all. Okay, so now we got the concept of exception handler. So let's use this. So let me also delete this from the project. I'll just delete the global handler. So now I have to delete. This is a simple process I have created from the new project here. Okay, so new project, I created a simple process. The process name is nothing but global exceptional handling demo. So now first I will show you what happens if we don't have a global exception handling. Okay, so let's take an activity called use application browser. Okay, so I want to open a notepad. So let's take a notepad and just save it as global handler demo. I'm just saving as global handler demo on my desktop. So just save and just I'll take one more activity and indicate on screen. This is the one, and I want to match. Okay, don't match this. So first we'll see. So now we will type something. Type into, and where you want to type in the notepad input field, and just confine. So types, we call it as tutorial for global handler. Okay, so that's it. So now I just want to save. So there is another activity today I came to know. So that is a keyboard shortcut. So how we are going to use the keyboard shortcuts in this use application in a recent version of Yoho. If you want to see the recent studio version like 2023, so you just need to click on record shortcut and just Control S. See, it will automatically take whatever you have typing in the keyboard. Okay, that's it. So it is going to save. So now this is a very happy part. So what it will do, it will, if I just run the file without any error, it will start working on it. See, it is typing, okay, demo and everything is good. So if I don't have this notepad on the screen, so let's see, and also I want to match the exact title. So if I check this match exact title, and I want to timeout. So in the new 2023 edition of the studio, you have the timeout is nothing but a seconds. Okay, so the default value is 30 seconds. So I don't want to wait until that long, so I just make it as 3 seconds, which will time out. So now let's run. So what it will do, it will open a notepad, but it will unable to, it doesn't type anything, but it will open an untitled notepad. Okay, let's see. Run file. So it is opened an untitled notepad and it is directly throwing an error. Okay, that is an execution error, and which is timeout reached, and the exception type is next exceptions. Okay, it is not even, because we have already checked this match exact title, right? It is looking for a GH demo notepad, but it is not available on the screen. So that is the reason it is going to throw an exception. So in this case, let's say I don't have any try catch blocks, right? If I have a try catch block, so there is no use of global exception handler until unless in the catch block, if you are rethrowing that exception, and if there is no use, right? If I have is a try catch block. So for example, now how we are going to start with the global exception handler. So just click on this design ribbon and new. You can see the global handler. So if I select on global handler, just keep it as same, or if you want to change anything, you can change, just create. So now the global handler XML file has been created. Okay, so now if you go through it, so there is a log message which is an error, and which is showing that exception.toString. So what is the exception? We can see it here, log error. Okay, and we have discussed, right? So there is 3 times. So the exception handler will retries the activity 3 times. So why they are saying 3 times? Here in the global handler, by default it is configured is errorInfo.retryCount is less than 3. Okay, so it will retry 3 times until unless the count is reached to 3. So by default the count is set with a 0, right? So this is the retry count is set with a 0, and these are the default arguments, should not be deleted. So okay, the global handler errorInfo result, right? ErrorInfo in is an indirection result out. So the argument type exception handler ops. Okay, so now if it is in place, so what happens, it will come, and also if you see, if it is a retry count, this is what the actions, the next behavior of the execution if there is an error, right? Error action dot retry if you want to retry, or if you want to ignore, or if you want to abort. Okay, most cases we do retry, and after that if still the exception comes, then we abort. So that is what here happening. So if this 0 is less than 3, which is true, so again it will go to the then branch and it will execute this assign activity which is going to retry. So if there is a 3 less than 3 which is false, then it will come to this, the result will be abort. So if the result is abort, the execution will be stopped. So now if I just run this, if you can see, it will open 3 times. So now I don't have any notepad on the screen, so it will retry 3 times, and it will open 3 times the notepad application, and then it will throw an error. So let's say run file. Okay, it is opened because we have given 3 seconds timeout, so it is 3. So now it is done. So now it is opening. So this is the source, use application ghdemo notepad, which is the activity name, so which is failing. Okay, could not find the URL element corresponding to the selector. Okay, the title is mismatched because it is opening notepad. First time it is opened, second time, third, fourth, then it is throwing this error. Okay, so this is a use of exception handler. So without using any try catch block, we are using the global handler. So anywhere in your project, let's say if you have a multiple XAML files in your process in your project, so any means if it is not in a try catch, then it will global handler will catch that exception and it will show you that exception here. Okay, so this is the purpose of the global handler. So thanks for joining me until here. And one more thing I have learned today, keyboard shortcuts, and that's it, I think. So one more thing I would like to try here. So let's say how we are going to make another demo. So we have created a one more XAML, right? So if we mark this as a XAML global handler, so how actually it will work? So what I want to see it. So let's try that. So let's mark this as a global handler. So it is saying in order to comply with the global handler format, the arguments of the demo.xml workflow has to be updated. So I hope those two arguments like errorInfo and result are going to be added to this particular demo.xaml file. So let's click yes. So let's see if you open demo.xaml. Okay, so yeah, I'm correct. So errorInfo and result, these are added. And if you want to modify, if you want to give any, let's say the handler, so like what about the handler here? So in the same way, if you want to create something, if you want to add any other activities, you can provide in a demo. Okay, so these arguments should be, you cannot change these arguments. Okay, great. So we did something new. So glad so far you guys being joined until here. So have a good day and we'll see you in next video.